Today, we are finally getting back on the ultimate X3 build. This is where we are taking this X3 and we're swapping in a 1300cc engine out of a Hayabusa street bike. And goal here is to make the most badass X3 that you could ever imagine. It's been a dream of mine now for almost 5 years to have this. Unfortunately, the week after I bought this engine, tree fell, crushed my shop. I had to rebuild the shop and everything else. And unfortunately, in that time, Can-Am came out with the Maverick car, but I'm still determined to make my dream come reality and build this awesome X3. So I know it's been a little while since, the last video. Yeah, not really my intent, but life happened. So tree ended up falling and damaging severely my fiance's truck. So for us to get insurance on it again, we had to basically fix all the damage and stuff like that. So what I thought was going to be like a week-long project and paint a truck turned out to be like, a 10-week project and painting a truck.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
I learned a lot. It was a lot of fun stuff. She learned a lot, and I'm not going to lie, for being my first paint job, it came out pretty dang awesome. So let me know what you guys think about it, but in the meantime, let's get back to the important stuff. So, all right, now, first thing we need to do is we need to make it so that the chain can be adjusted on this thing, right? So that means we got to cut this back bar. All right, we need to then have some end plates cut out on the plasma table. That way the back bar can go up and down. So get those cut out, get them welded on and stuff, and let's test it out and make sure that we can, the back of the engine will move and come up and down. A little example here. All right, down. Perfect. And I did end up taking a link out in the chain as well, like you guys said. Now, going back up. There it is, that's it, tight. Boom. So, got a whole lot of extra throw in it, but that should work well. Next issue we're running into is this eBay special turbo manifold literally touches an oil line. I kind of feel like having exhaust touching an oil line, not great. So rather than spend $1,000 on a good, turbo Hayabusa manifold, we just stuck with the eBay special, and we actually cut, pie cut these basically, and just bent this whole thing out. So we'll get these tack welded together, and then what we're gonna do is test fit it in the car one more time just to make sure it all fits and stuff. My original plan was I was gonna use a turbo as a muffler, right? Just because I was like, well, I can buy a Ching Chong muffler and a Ching Chong turbo for almost the same price. And I was like, well, one of them is way better than the other. But because at the end of next month, kind of a cool event that I got invited to, so doing everything in my power to make that happen. That said, my quality of workmanship and quality or level of overthinkedness is gonna absolutely plummet. This is now gonna be a just get this thing working and running. That way I'll have a little bit of time to test it, hopefully a couple days. And then after that, we're gonna hit the road for, it's like a 30-hour drive for us to get there. Not gonna tell you where, not gonna tell you with who, but yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, this is kind of for me like a once in a lifetime opportunity, so I'm gonna do whatever I can to make it happen. That said, a turbo is a lot more work to plumb up and stuff like that than it is to just put a muffler on here. And so we're just gonna put a regular old muffler on it and call it good. And then after that, we're gonna start really forging ahead and making some progress on this thing, which for you guys will be awesome because you'll get to see more stuff. So, so one of the next things, right, was getting this manifold moved away from here. So we just pie cut the top of these and yanked it out a little bit and welded them back up. So while it was out, I kind of figured, hey, it'd be a good idea to get the oil cooler lines put on here. That way it's ready, because accessing these lines right here and right here while it's in there is not going to be impossible. It would just be a pain in the butt and stuff, right? So put those on. In the process of doing that, right, I just kind of like, because the engine has oil in it, so I just kind of like rolled it back. And when I rolled it back, apparently I got really lucky and I found out that motor mount right there that I made, that I said I hated, yeah, apparently that's way too thin. That should not look like that. It should be like that one. It was nice and straight before. See, nice and straight. Not straight. So I say lucky because, well, had that not happened here, God knows what would happen. So gonna make something similar, just thicker, beefier, that kind of thing. You know, it's always a pain in the butt to design everything on CAD versus just cut it out like you normally would sheet metal. But this is one of the times where it's super nice to have a plasma table, because I was able to basically just like hit print again and cut another one out. So this one is, what was it? It's like 16 gauge, so paper thin. Now, don't blow me up in the comments, because I told you guys before I even showed you last time, I said I hate these. So cut this one out. This is 10 gauge. I'm gonna sandwich the two together, and I cut out some, you know, notches in here. That way I can weld them all up and stuff. And then this will be a heck of a lot thicker. So hopefully it doesn't bend, you know, and then it'll go on here, right? So that way we'll have another motor mount, and it should be a heck of a lot stronger. So kind of glad this happened now. That way hopefully it doesn't happen when we're out playing around, but still not ideal. All right, start welding these up. What do I do as far as paddles go for this? Because gonna be going to the dunes to test it. Probably about the worst place I could go to test it, but you know, gotta do what you gotta do. So I know nothing about paddle tire setup. So what do you do for paddle tires? Like, what should I get, you know? I have no idea, honest to God. So if you wouldn't mind, let me know what I should look into and stuff. I'd love the help, just because I'm spending every second I can working on this thing to get it done, so that way we can go play and I can get some really good content. So yeah, let me know. All right, back to the video. While we are waiting for those rear motor mounts to dry, just got them all painted and stuff like that, figured gonna work on the coolant system and the exhaust. So exhaust is, like I said, was gonna be a turbo, like as a muffler, but time constraints, different, you know, requiring something different. So this is the muffler off of just a Yamaha Tenere 700. Thinking this thing will go something like right here. It's kind of my thoughts. So the suspension right now is 2 inches away from full bump, so it's pretty close. And then, all right, so just measured stock X3 muffler, all right, 2-inch diameter pipe. The one off the Tenere, it's only 1 3/4 inches, just like we thought. Dad had a good idea. We're gonna chop up the Tenere muffler, and we're gonna stick some 2.5-inch stainless pipe in it, and we're gonna make our own muffler. So that's gonna work out way better. It's gonna fit a lot nicer, be a lot lighter, and should sound better. So let's make one. All right, managed to make a thorough mess, but Dad hogged out the stock spark arrestor, so we will have a spark arrestor, which will be good, because where we're gonna be going, it's kind of strict on crap like this. So now, as far as getting more airflow, right? Nothing in that side. And then this side opened it up quite a bit, right? We're gonna weld, that's where we're gonna weld on the 2 1/4-inch pipe. And then also, you know, got that side opened up a lot too. So in here, you can't see it on camera and stuff, right? But there are a few baffles in there. That way it still will have a little bit of sound deadening, so it's not horrifically loud and obnoxious. And then I think I can actually use the stock clamp to hold it all together while I weld it up. So should look a lot better than the big, you know, than the big stock Can-Am one, and should be a lot lighter, should sound better. So, all right, I'm gonna start TIG welding more, getting better at it, slowly but surely. Okay, so after a little bit of messing around, we finally got our muffler, right? And I gotta just finish weld that stuff. And then up here, we got the exhaust mounted. So I got a nice, you know, 25-foot long piece of flex pipe there. That way, when I go and shift the engine, you know, like, cause like to adjust the chain, right? We're gonna tip it. So that way when I adjust it, there's a little bit of give. So, nope, not my favorite idea, not my favorite design, but it's gonna work. Then muffler, right, connects up right there. Muffler's gonna sit right here. So to connect, you know, that tube, right, to the muffler, actually gonna use like a band clamp. That way it's super easy to like take it on and off just in case we gotta get in there to do stuff or whatever, but yeah. So one thing it's kind of gonna be a pain in the butt about this is trying to adjust the chain, right? So since this whole bar has to come up and down, it's like, well, it's gonna be kind of hard for me to like hold it up, you know, and tighten all these pinch bolts down. So I was thinking, all right, I gotta make like a mechanical adjuster, kind of like a motorcycle chain adjuster. So check out what I'm kind of messing with here. All right, so here's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm gonna weld, you know, these two pieces together about like that. We'll put it over here and I'll weld this to the bar. Take a bolt, we're gonna put it down through there. Hopefully that'll work, and hopefully that'll make it a lot easier to adjust this chain and stuff, you know, be able to get it dialed in. Got the chain tensioner set up, all done on here. So I just gotta paint it obviously, but pretty stoked with it. So basically I'll just be able to crank that, you know, bolt down, you know, it'll push down on that bar, which will yank this one up. And then there's, you know, pinch bolt top and bottom. So should work out pretty good. Definitely forgot to put my pillow block bearing on there when I was making it. And that doesn't look like enough room. For somebody who is supposed to be smart, went to college for a lot of years, built a lot of cool shit, sometimes I'm really stupid. God damn it. You know, one day I'm gonna remember that whenever you're making stuff, mock things up. Cause yeah, that's not gonna fit. God damn it. Never mind. I am not done with it. I have an interesting idea, doesn't work. But yeah, it's about as successful as the government. Great idea on paper, but in reality it sucks. Shit. All right, never mind. Back to regular scheduled programming. And yeah, I'll let you know when I figure it out. Okay. Finally, have the chain tensioner set up, figured out. Check this out, works pretty good. Dollar bet says the first ride out with this thing, I'm gonna forget the chain tensioner tools, like tools that I need to do this. And yeah, I'm gonna be up shit creek. But that's okay, that's a problem for future me, not right now me. You know? Look at that, that's taut. Okay. Cool little update. So, transmission is in high. Look at that. It actually works. So if I spin the wheel forward, it actually goes forward. Okay, this might actually work, at least for now. We're slowly but surely making our way through this list here. Fuel system, I just have to trim a hose. No, actually I can probably finish the fuel system now. Let's work on wrapping up the fuel system. So as you guys might remember, fuel system, right? We got the return line already plumbed, right? It's already plumbed into the stock pickup and stuff, right? And fuel pump, because we're gonna use the stock fuel pump. Bought a connector that will plug right into the stock fuel pump so we can use it. And then we put our fuel pressure regulator over here on this side, because just in case the chain breaks, it's on that side, so it would whip around. Originally I had it on that side, but I was worried if the chain broke, whipped around, it could potentially rip it off and fire and all kinds of bad, you know, badness. So actually I was able to reuse the stock line coming up into here, and now the return line, right? We got to connect that up And then we got to get from the fuel pressure regulator over to there. So let's get that hooked up. Like I said, it's almost done. Let's just wrap that up. And then after that, we can go on to actually mounting this like back bed shelf area thing, because I think that's where I'm gonna mount the oil cooler. So, fuel system. Even got the you know, like the main supply line to the rail hooked up. So made a little space that's gonna go right here. And then that way this P-clamp can help hold this hose. So want to try to keep that from moving as much as possible and stuff. That way it can't chafe on anything, can't loosen any fittings or anything like that and stuff. But yeah. All right, next thing, let's kind of fit up this back shelf thing and guess like the bed, because that's kind of where I'm gonna mount the oil cooler, kind of like I did on the race car. I like that the most and stuff. That way it acts kind of as a heat shield, because muffler is right there. And it's like, this is a really good spot to put it, but the heat would just radiate straight up from the muffler and kind of heat the thing up. For right now, we're just gonna use the stock, you know, oil cooler off the Hayabusa. So on the race car, mounted it up there. And I'm not gonna lie, works pretty good. So something like that is kind of what I'm thinking. Gonna have this mount down here so that way I can bolt it to the bed, and I can always unbolt it and take it off if needed. These are actually from the S&B particle separator, and we're just gonna recycle them. We'll just reuse them. And they're gonna go something like this, right? So that'll get welded onto there, get bolted up here. Then the oil cooler will sit something like about that. And that way the, you know, the lines can run down, right? The oil lines can run down there. Should work out pretty good. All right, I'm gonna get back to doing my favorite chore, TIG welding. Oil cooler, you know, I don't know, we'll call it temporary location, at least just for now. But based on how well that location worked on the other one, I feel like that's probably gonna be, the actual location. So let's get on to the cooling system, like radiator cooling system. So as I kind of mentioned before, right, this radiator hose right here, kind of a problem child, because as you can see right there, it's touching. It will take no time at all for it to chafe through there. Sway bar rotates when you're going up and down, like going over bumps and stuff like that. So it can't touch the sway bar. Exhaust obviously will melt it. The shifter linkage right here moves. So yeah, so there's all kinds of crap in here that we can't touch or be anywhere around. And you know, I don't know, like if you've ever tried to bend just like a regular radiator hose, they'll arc nicely, but you can't make like a 90-degree turn unless you do it over the course of like 3 feet. So like pre-bent hoses, you know, like that are molded that way, totally different story. No one sells a molded and bent hose for a 2019 X3 with a GSXR 1300 engine in it. Shocking, I know, but I looked, no one makes one. So had an idea, rather than trying to bend a hose like that, went on to everybody's favorite website who's in a real hurry to build stuff, Amazon, and ordered some stainless steel 1-inch tubing. So got a straight stick and I got us some 90s. That way we can kind of try to figure out and make something happen. So let's start making that. And we're gonna kind of bob and weave it around in there and let's see what we can come up with. Not too shabby. Now, the next thing we gotta do on the cooling system is we gotta mount the like overflow bottle, I guess like reservoir tank. So made this ugly monstrosity. So plan on putting that like that. That way I can still see back here to see, you know, where it's max full at and stuff. You know, be easy to get to and everything. I feel like that's kind of a good location for it. I think our little reservoir tank here is basically mounted. I'm gonna paint that thing, and then the next step is gonna be throttle cables, and then wiring. Then we hit the key. So, home stretch. All right, made some serious progress this week. So, sorry for the delays again and getting you guys more videos and stuff like that. But like I said, life kind of got in the way for a little bit. But now we're on the straight and narrow again. So, I will see you guys in the next one, and hopefully we'll be able to make this thing move. So, yeah.